Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be going over the Surety Pro basics. We're going to try to keep this webinar less than an hour. Due to that, if you have any questions along the line or along the way, please jot them down and email them to myself or give us a call here at AgriData at the end of the webinar or some here in the future. We can't cover everything in depth in Surety Pro, so we're going to basically go over the basics, just so you get an idea of some of the features work, and to show how Surety Pro can save information for you. So let us begin. For you that have using Surety Pro, you're familiar with the interface. For those of you that have not used Surety Pro, this is the Surety Pro interface. You can see it's very similar to the Surety interface, except in this area here, we give you some options for a hierarchy of client farm field database that you can create and use to store information. You can see that. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same, except with a few little extra options here and there that we'll talk about as we move forward. For those that aren't familiar with Surety at all, we're going to skip a lot of the basic stuff for the Surety part, or for the basic mapping, so that we can cover enough of the Surety Pro basics. Before we start, and with that in mind, I always like to lead off with a few minutes talking about something very important. I think it's very important for you to see and for you to realize what is there. So when you log into Surety or Surety Pro, you have the Help menu, you have the file menus up here. Under Help, there's two things we want to look at. First is the how-to videos. As you can see, we can break them down by Surety or Surety Pro. These are very detailed, short videos on each individual, say a tool or a function. I believe it's just very important that what you see today is an overview. Do not go in depth, and I might go fast enough where I might skip by something, or I won't be able to go back. We got to keep moving. But to come in here and see these videos are going to get you going on the basics of Surety, and of course the functionality in Surety Pro. Very important that you look at these. Also, under the Help, I want to show you the support documentation. The support documentation works like a search engine. Okay, first of all, you can access the tutorial videos from right here. You can also look in our YouTube channel. You can also search YouTube for our channel and see all our videos that are up there. You can subscribe to it if you wish. But the important thing here is the ability to search for information on individual tools, functions, what have you. There's two areas where you can do a search. You can search here in this box, or you can search in this box. So if I come in and I say, well, what does Surety have on soils and functionality of soils? So I'm just going to enter in soils. You can hit your enter key, return key, or you can hit the little arrows next to the boxes to start the search. And so let's see. Now, when you do the search, it's going to take some time because it's looking through all our documentation to see what's available, and it's going to weigh it again, just like a search engine. Okay, now once the results pull up, it looks, as you can see, it looks like the search engine results. And then you can come in here and look through things and see if you get more specifically what you're looking for. Let's just click on the top one here. Okay, now as you can see, understanding Surety Soils Map Report, and not only do we talk everything on about the Surgo database, where the soils originate from, we can talk about productivity ratings, the soil, looking at previous soil erosion, evaluating the land, all these other properties. We also show on the soil map what's available, what can be seen, what it shows, things of that nature. Now, some of these documentations actually will allow you will actually walk you through and show you videos step by step. So it's very detailed. We take pride in our documentation because everything that's in the program, possibly you can do with the program, is in our documentations, and possibly even within our own videos. So here's drawing, and it goes through each individual. You can actually do click links to other areas, and it'll do you step by step. If there's a video available, you can watch a video, so on and so forth. So I wanted to make people aware of these videos and this documentation, because everything you hear today is available also in those videos and documentation. So let's move on to Surety Pro. So what Surety Pro offers over Surety is the ability, one, to save field boundaries so that you can bring them up again at a later date without having to select them or redraw them. It also allows you to save forms. And what I mean by forms is information attached to that area of interest, be it a chemical application map or realty sales map or what have you. Okay. We just want to mention now we have a set of forms, but we also have ability to do custom forms for people. So if you see our basic forms and you say, well, I'd like something a little changed on there, or I'd like it to calculate this for me. Well, we can do some customization, and you do that if you're an admin, which probably most of you are. It's probably single subscription, but whoever your admin is can also make a form request, fill in the information. You can even add files showing how you'd kind of like to see it look, save it, and the person who does this will contact you and get the ball rolling. Right now, we do not charge for those, so you can take advantage of that. Now we have the forms. Those forms are saved. Now maps, you're familiar, let's say, with the FSA map. I'm just going to zoom in here and create an FSA map here real quick. So if you see the FSA map, some layers on the FSA map, for example, that's what we consider a map. The soils report is a report. It's a map report. It's something you don't save because you can quickly grab the boundary and regenerate it. Forms, what we call forms, are what you do save, and those have information that you've entered directly on those forms. And we'll see that later on. Okay, so basically, I like to see the Surety Pro revolves around the client, okay, what we call the client. You have to have a client created and or selected to save information, either a boundary set or a form. Okay, so the first thing you do if you have never created clients, or the first thing you do if you're starting putting in boundaries, is you would create clients. Okay, so in order to do that, you can see the client box here. If you click to the right, you see the add, edit, or delete client. So if you click on that, it opens up the client database. Okay, so now you can add individual clients. You can edit selected role. You can delete. So, for example, client 3 here, as you can see, I just have the client name. I have no other information with it, and that's fine. Only thing that's required is the last and business name to create a client. So if I want to create a client, I can come in, and it's all I have to enter. A name for that client and hit submit. So, and it creates it here. Now that I have it created, you can close this out. You'll see the clients are listed. Now you select the client, okay, and now you have the ability now to start entering information. As you notice, when I selected a client, it zoomed out to our full extent of our mapping system. That's because nothing has been defined yet. A boundary hasn't been defined or a form has not been saved. Once that happens, when you choose the client, you'll zoom to the extents of what you have saved for that client. Next important thing is the crop year. Okay, the crop year allows us to separate boundaries and forms under the client. And exactly what it means. We call it crop year. You could call it business year, whatever you want to call it. And you can start it whenever you want. You can be in October and you could start now. Let's say if you're doing applications on fields for next year, you could create the 2024 crop year and start saving that information. You can always go back to previous years and see what is there. Now I have a new client, so there is nothing newer than 2023. Let's look at one of these other clients here. And as you can see, I got information going all the way back to 2016. Okay. So depending on the client, you'll have information saved. But once you start saving information, you can. Now, why do we do that? Now, you can see here where there's something called roll borders. I won't get into detail, but what will happen when you create a new crop year? It'll ask you, do you want to roll the borders over from the previous crop year? You can do it for the specific client or all clients. You can even include boundaries on the individual forms. That'll be up to you. But when you roll them over, let's say if you roll them over and then you go and edit them, they will not touch the previous year's boundaries. Those will stay where they are. And you can roll a boundary from 2 years ago into the current crop year. So once you create a boundary set for that year, it's saved to that year. And if you create a new crop year, you can actually roll that information out. And so any forms, let's say a chemical application form that's saved in 2022, when you go to 2023, will not show up in 2023. So it'll start a new year for you. You can always go and access those old forms by choosing the crop year or using the form manager. So that's the crop year, and it's tied to the client, anything under client. Also, and we won't talk much about this, but I'll talk a little later on. If you add a custom layer, you can import some data as a custom layer. You can see some here. I got Nebraska wells or Campbell, South Dakota soils, one doing some work on it. That's a custom layer. And when I import it, I can actually link it to a year, or I can say it's available at all times. So you can bring in custom layers and link them to a year also. Okay, so before we talk about the farm name and field ID or field name, let's go ahead and there's several ways of saving boundaries in the system. So the first one is we'll do a we'll do a selection using the select. So as you come out here and we see that we got some fields that we want to add into the system. Now I could just come in using the select key, select, and now this is from the, again, the layer FSA fields, okay? I'm selecting, and I also have my borders layer. Now your borders layer, you'll see is doesn't exist until you actually start saving field boundaries within the system. We call it borders. But let's just work on the FSA fields in the selection. Now I could come in here and select this field here. And if I like the way it looks, I can go ahead and save it. You can also do other things with the tools. So if you want to come in to drawing, you could do a merge fields, for example, and we'll get into detail. We've got great videos to show you how to use all these tools. I could then select these two fields, these two boundaries here, skip the grassway or waterway here, and I can add them. Okay, you could edit them first. Editing a boundary is, as you maybe have seen on Surety, if you ever used Surety Pro before, this is our editing mode. When you see the purple lavender colored boundaries or filled fields, areas of interest with the red dots all around, each one of those dots represents a node. That means that's a switch in line direction. And you can edit those. Again, the video can help you out, or the documentation can step you through that. But you have the ability to grab, oh, hold on here. You can grab nodes, move nodes, you can add nodes, and of course you can delete them easily by just going over the top of an existing node. So you can edit these. Now once you're ready to save them, to save boundaries, it's the save borders link right here on the right, halfway down on your right panel. You click save borders. Okay, now it's going to come up with a dialog box. It says edit borders. It should be save borders, but you're going to give it a farm name if you wish. You do not have to give it a farm name. If you have an existing farm, you can select it there. So let's just give it a farm name. Okay. And now I'm going to give it a field name. We call it field ID, but it's a field name. Okay, now I'm going to hit save. That boundary turns green. And now if we come up here, you'll see I have farm A and I have field 1. Okay. I could also draw fields in. So I could come in, that's a smart select. You can also just select a boundary and save it, but I can also draw a field. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to turn FSA borders off, fields off here, and I'm just going to draw out this quarter here and add it. So we won't go into drawing features. Again, we have a great video on how to draw. Remember, also I like to remind people that you can also pan as you're drawing, so you can zoom in, take advantage of the resolution of the imagery. So I've drawn my boundary. I'll do a little edit here. I'll move this. Oh, I'm done with editing. Now I want to save it. Okay. Now again, I come over here to save borders. I click on save borders. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to farm A, and we're going to call this field 2. Now again, you don't have to have a farm or farm name defined. You can leave that blank. I hit save, and now I have 2 fields here. And if I look just under field ID, if I don't choose a farm, which is acts like a filter. It'll show me my both fields. If I choose farm A, also, it'll show me 2 fields. Now I'm going to do one more here. I'm going to draw one more field out here. Okay, I'm going to say borders. But this time I'm going to give it a different farm. Again, you do not have to have a farm. Oops, I'm sorry. Hit save. Okay, now I have 3 fields. Now, if I come in, if I just do the field ID without selecting the farm, all 3 fields will show. So in order to filter by farm, I would come in and pick farm, and it's going to filter. So as you notice, when I pick farm B, it only has 1 field, so it automatically selected it. In Surety Pro, when a field has been selected from the farm field ID drop-down list, it is in blue. Again, now I can go and create my maps and forms from that. Okay. Let's go farm A. It's going to deselect this one. It's going to show these 2. But now I can actually just select one of those 2. So when you choose the farm, it's going to not only zoom to that farm, the extent of that farm, it's going to choose all boundaries in that farm. And then at that point, you could create something using all those boundaries, or you can choose a field ID and do the individual field. I have an existing boundary and I want to edit it. Say you roll the boundaries, or you come in and you feel, oh, that field isn't exactly the way I thought it was, and I need to change it. Okay. Well, first thing you would come in and say, well, there's edit borders here. Sorry, but that's not what that is for. We'll get to that. To edit a boundary, let's just pick a different one here. Let's see this one here in the southwest corner. I want to edit this boundary. What I do is I use what's called the Smart Select. Okay, this will edit any boundary. This will edit a boundary under the selection layer, such as the FSA fields. And then you can edit that field and save it. It will not change the original field. It'll just edit. When you edit, it'll create a new boundary for you to save. But the Smart Select is our editing tool. So I'll come in, I choose Smart Select. I have this boundary here that I selected, and now I'm going to click on it. As you see, now I've edited that boundary. Now it's in edit mode. This isn't grab my point here. So I'm going to grab and I'm going to do some editing here. I just did some slight edits here. Now that's done. I want to save it over the old. Now I just come in here and I hit save borders, and now it'll automatically save it. So when you're editing with Smart Select, it'll automatically save that boundary now. Now it has changed. So what is the edit borders key for? Well, edit borders, let's pick a field. Edit borders allows you to change the farm or farm name, to change the field name or which farm it's associated with, or to just delete the field. So if I come in and I hit delete here, it's going to tell me how much I'm deleting. As you can see, it's disappeared. So that's the edit borders. It does not actually edit the physical border, it edits how you store the border. Okay, now let's move on. As we talked about before, we have maps. Well, maps are things that you can generate at any time. Just select the boundary, generate them. They do not save information. They are just they just provide information, such as the FSA map, soil map, wetland map, topography, hillshade, so on and so forth. So when I come in here and I pick a field, and for example, I hit topography, hillshade, There's a map. There's no information being added to this map. It's a one-time. You generate it one time, and you go. I just want people to know if you're doing a topography hillshade and some of the other maps, even if I say you can add contours, change the contours right here. So click in your new contour interval and update the interval. You can actually go a half a foot. You can go, point 0.5 feet, which would represent a half a foot. So you have some control over that. So you can change your contour interval. For those who look and say, well, you've never seen these over here before once you've created a map, that's simply because you have in your options, you have under Tools Options page, you have the Build Maps to PDF. So I would uncheck that and print maps from a web page because when you create any map or form now, you'll have these options on the right, and then you can save a PDF and save a JPEG. You can print directly from here. You can add it to Dossier Studio, which we'll talk about later. You can export a boundary if you need to. So if you do not have those, that is why. So now let's talk about forms. Forms give you the ability to save information within Surety Pro. So before we do that, let's come back out. If you want to change clients, of course you have the drop down, but if you just want to clear out all your clients, you can do that just by hitting clear. It'll empty out the client box and it'll zoom to your full extent. Okay, we'll come back in. Let's pick a client here. I pick the client. It's going to zoom to the extent of any boundary, so you can see, now not tight in, but it's going to zoom within a set distance of the boundary. So I got these boundaries here for this client. I have one farm. That's the farm. And then I have individual fields. So now when I pick a field, and let's say now I want to save information, and what I'm going to do is use the chemical form. It can be any form where you save information that ties things back to the field. I'm going to use the chemical form today. So now I'm ready. I'm going to create a chemical form for this. Click on chemical. Now you can also do this in Surety, but you won't be able to save the chemical form into the system for later access. You can only save it as a PDF or print it, what have you. So as we bring it up, you can see we have information in here. And the key to all this is now you have the ability to select products, enter rates, and it'll calculate information for you. So you can bring in your products again, pick your products, add them into the system, pick your rates, and now you have the ability, any information that you brought in, you have the ability to save that form. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to save that form. So you see the date ordered. That's the date when you open up this new form. I'm going to save it. Okay. Now I've saved this form. I can close out of here. Now, as you notice now, what happened is that I have a color coding within the field. Well, what happens, and you can see now I have a chemical layer. So when you save a form for the first time, it's going to create a new layer for you because we consider these layers. So the field boundary is still there. So if I select a field, right, field boundary is still there. I can create a map. I can create a map yet, and it'll use the field boundary. But now I got a form, so it's color coded. Okay. If you notice, when I turn the chemical layer off, it'll turn that off. So it creates another layer under that form called chemical. So let's look at these layers. And if you notice, it's also blue. Some of these are black, some of them are blue. When they're blue, that means, and you can see it's a link. Your mouse treats it as a link. It has properties. So if I turn this on, it has properties. Symbology is what it looks like. Okay. There's different colors. You can use a default. But what I also have it colored by is, or I can do it, or color by. You can color it by different things. If you want to color it by, see, where am I looking at? Previous crop. I can look in here. It's going to update. You can see I got some crops. I can make corn green. I can make soybean blue. I can make sunflower yellow. Okay. You can do range coloring if it's text. And now I'm gonna save that. Okay, I'm gonna update that. Now it's green. You can see it's green. I'm gonna save that. I color coded by that. So there's many ways to color code. One thing, if you're doing these as work orders, now that works for any type of form that we created. When we have a custom form, when you add a new layer in, you can actually create a form associated with that layer if you bring in a custom layer. But you see I color code it. There's previous crop name. Let's go back and look at that form now. How can I look at that form? I don't want to create a new one. I want to look in the existing form. Well, there's two ways to do that. You could select the boundary again and just hit chemical. It's going to come up with a dialog box. Do you want to create a new chemical or edit an existing? And it'll show you every one you've created for 2023, not any previous year, just 2023. So I want to edit the one I've already created. So if I click on that, it's going to bring that up. You can see the information. Oh, I picked the wrong crop. I'm going to try a different crop here. And I know it doesn't make sense for what I'm doing, but just bear with me. I'm going to pick previous crop, and I'm going to save that form now because that's what I'm going to color by. If I come back to the mapping system, you can see it's blue because soybeans was for set blue. Okay, so that's the color by. We also have ability that you can have a status. So for those that are like use a work order, you can set it like, oh, we just accepted this order, or where it's pending, or we're processing, or we completed the order. And you can color code by those. You can add choices here, and then when I did the symbology, you can actually color code that information by that status. It's not part of the form. As you can see, it's outside the form. So we can also have information associated outside of the form and not only just inside the form. Okay, a couple other things. I'm going to make sure I save that form again. A couple other things. Now, again, like you say, you come in and change this and save it. Now, when you save it, it still has the current date ordered. It's not a new form, so we keep track of when it was initially created, and we do keep track of each instance that it has been edited through the process. What was I going to say? For example, there's other things that come through on these initial forms. And this is more for the production ag people. As you see, I have a database here. I can customize the database and add information to the database. I can also access stuff through the chemical database. So I can get documentation based on things that I've added in. I can also go and add other products. By hitting the plus sign, I can go and custom add products, save them, or I can go to the crop production database. I can search through different products, and I can then select those and add them into the database. That's only a Surety Pro feature. Some of the information that we get, let me close this down. Let me go and simulate a new chemical form. Have to draw a field first. I'm going to create a new form. Some of this information is filled in based on your company. As you can see, your company information, your client information, if you filled things out, the field ID. The corn, it goes to corn because I said default. You can set default crop, but this is where you add your previous crops or your crop that you're using for this application. We also have weather information. So when you have you enter a start time and an end time, or if you use to enter start and log time, you can get weather. It'll also fill in weather information for you. So these are little things that we can do with the forms. So I'm going to just save this form here. I have nothing on it. And just to show you now, I have 2 forms for that field. Again, it's going to default. It's going to default to the newest, okay, form. So on here, again, you can change symbology, and you can also change labels. So any label that's on that form, you can actually add. So you could actually, you'd have to come in, you could add client name. You could move those to the top. You can also delete what you want here. Update. You can see the label has changed. Let's go back to symbology. You can remove the pin. Just want to make you aware of that. If you do not want the pins, hit save. So you can change the labels also on the individual forms. Again, it only shows you the newest. Okay, how do I access old forms without having to hit the chemical form? Well, we have what we call a form manager, okay? And so once you start building lots of forms on different fields for different clients, sometimes it can get a little overwhelming just by picking them on the map. We have what we call the form manager. It basically manages the forms. So if I come in here and I hit form manager, for example, this is the form manager. First of all, it gives us several ways of looking. I can look at, for the whole company, I can look at all chemical forms for that year. Or I mean all forms. I got all forms selected. All these are all forms that were created for this year. I can come in and say, okay, no, I just want chemical for that company. And these are different chemicals I've created this year. I can also come in and just sort it by client. So I sorted by client 2023 chemical. As you can see, that client is the one I have selected. If you don't have a client selected, you won't be able to enter it here. So you have to go out and create your client first and select your client and then come into Form Manager. So I've got year 2023, form chemical, and these are the 2 I have here. Now, first thing, we have columns across the top here: field ID, product name, actual acres, crop name, date application status. Those are generated. Here, let me expand this out a little bit if I can. This is where you set those. So I have field ID first. You can move things around if you wish. You can, if there's a column that has numbers, you can actually total the column. And what you can add, and you also delete from here. So when I hit save, I'll change what I did. So I move the status over here. As you see, I'm totaling this column. Okay, data application, and either one, I never filled out the data application. You can see that. So now that I have done that, how do I access these? Well, there's two ways. Well, first you can just click on it and it's going to open up. Okay, so you can, let's say I'm just going to do a date of application. I did it on the 27th. I know that's tomorrow, but let's just save that form. And I'll come back. As you can see now, the date of application has been updated for that. You want to zoom. This is kind of different. We don't have all over the place, but if I wanted to zoom to a form, I can just, or where the form or what field, I can just click that. These are in the same field, so that wouldn't matter. I can do a selection of all forms, or I can just do an individual form. And when I do that, I can do this, or I can just show only selected, so it's not so cluttered. You can zoom to results. So if I got both, now again, it's the same field, so that won't have it. You can print the selected forms directly from here, and you can delete the selected forms directly from here. Another thing you can do is also create filters. Okay, and you can filter, let's say, by status. You can generate filters. Again, we have documentation to show you how that. So I can filter by, well, only pendings available on these two, so that's the only option I have. So if I had one complete, I could filter status by complete, and it would only show me the ones that have been completed. So you see how you can manage those as maybe work orders and such. So that's the form manager. Again, we have good details and videos on how to use this properly. One thing you can do in Surety Pro is you can bring in what we call custom layers. Okay. So what are custom layers? They may be, if you're using it as a mapping system, for example, here I brought in Nebraska wells. That's Nebraska well information, it's a layer. Or Campbell, South Dakota soils. Another custom layer I brought in is the plots. In North Dakota, that's the private land open to sportsmen. And as if we move through that, I'm going to turn the borders off here. We got to move a little further out west in North Dakota to really see that. But you can start seeing some of them right here. So it's a custom layer that I imported in. And then what I did is I set it to always appear across all clients. So I basically set it at the company level. It'll always show up. Okay, you can, and that's where it ends up in the more custom layers here. If it's specific to a client, it's going to be up here. Okay, and when I choose a client, when I add a custom layer and it's wasn't added for that client, it will not appear on your list. You would have to add it as a company feature. So you can bring in custom layers. They do have same features. Then you can go in and create symbology. You can click on them, and you can also change colors. You can color by. You can change labels, so on and so forth. Okay. So you can bring in custom layers. They can be tied to the client. They can be tied to the year. They can be tied to the company. I had spoke about custom forms, that we have the ability to create custom forms for you, and we've done quite a bit. Maybe it's the way the logo shows up on there, or maybe you need more lines for an application, or you want some other information that you want to save with that form, and we have done quite a few of those. Again, use the form request under admin to do more of that, or just give us a call and we can help you with that. Surety Pro also has a few unique layers to it. One is the Drift Watch. If people that aren't familiar with Drift Watch, that is the organization that goes around and collects information that um, applicators and others put in so that you can uh, see where there are fields of interest, either be beehives or organics or fruit trees or so on. So when you're doing applications that you can see where they are. If you're not familiar with them, they're only available in certain states, but it's quite a few states now already. It's over half of them, I believe, already. Go in there, check them out, Drift Watch or Field Watch. Search for that in Google and you get to their website. Yeah, very interesting what they're doing and making things available, and we have access to that database here. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about Dossier Studio real quick before we wrap this up. What is Dossier Studio? So if you ever had a time where, okay, you can go and print each form, and it's mostly really for, I like to use it for creating PDFs, because if you want to print each form, you can just go and print each form. But we allow you to create a collection of maps and forms together in one kind of a booklet that you can create a PDF from. And that's the Dossier Studio. There's other features in there also to help do some markups, things of that nature. So let's look at that. So let's say I want to be able to create, I want an FSA map, I want a soils map, and I want my chemical application map. I'm just picking three, maybe a topography map. I want all four, and I want them in the same PDF so that I can send them to somebody to view. So first thing, I got my field boundary. Let's turn on my borders here. Let's turn off FSA fields. There's my field boundary. First thing I want to do is I'm going to move my field to the center. And maybe I didn't have my selection tied in, so I'm going to have to reselect it here. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my FSA map. Okay, this is my FSA map for that field. Kind of use as a reference. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have this up. I'm going to click Dossier Studio. Okay, now Dossier Studio opens up. And what it does is it brings that map in. So you can see FSA map. Okay, I brought that map in. Okay, now here's important. Do not close this down. Just go back to your mapping system. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select the border here. I'm going to create a soils map. I don't have my color set up very good. I was messing around, so that's why it's solid one color. But anyway, you can see productivity index across. That's pretty straightforward, even, so it wouldn't be that colorful anyway. But I'm going to add that to my Dossier Studio. Okay, if I come to Dossier Studio, see now I have my FSA map. I have my soil map. I want to add a topography hillshade map. For valley, let's show what, let's go to 1/2 foot intervals here. I'm going to add that to Dossier Studio. And I want my latest chemical map. So I'm going to bring up Form Manager here, move by client to chemical, and I want the latest. Well, I don't have my stats in, but we'll just use this one here. I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to add that to Dossier Studio. Okay, now I've created the 4 maps, so you can see I have all 4. You can change the order they're in. You can add a overview map, and you can pick what map will be your overview map if you wish. But now I have everything. Now I can go in. I can do several things. I can save this. I can save it as a dossier. I can, okay, and then you can bring it up later. I can import some things, some symbols, custom symbols, and then of course I can export to PDF. Okay, when I export to PDF, it'll create a single PDF with all these in a 4-page, basically, document for you. So that's the Dossier Studio. You can add symbols to it if you want, things of that nature. So that's Dossier Studio. We have, again, video and documentation on what else you can do with Dossier Studio. And one last thing for those that use parcel data, have purchased parcel data, the Surety Pro allows you to do parcel search. Okay, in Surety, you can just see the parcel layer, you can turn on the labels, you can see the names and everything, or whatever data you want to see. But in Surety Pro, we allow a parcel search. So you can bring in, pick your state, pick a county, you can do a parcel ID, you can search by last name. I'll locate my relatives out in Western North Dakota, Stark County. You can do a locate, and it's going to show you every one of the fields out there, and then you can actually zoom to them. We can actually zoom to all results. If you pick some of them, you can then save those selected and use them for other things. You can move them to your boundary layer if you want to use the parcel boundaries. So I just want to add that parcel search is available in Surety Pro. Now, we went through quite a few things here, and we never really got in a lot of details. We didn't talk about some of the basic steps in Surety, but I encourage you to look at those videos and use our documentation. If you do that, you're going to find a lot of other things that you can do, and you can take your time doing step-by-step approach to learning how to use Surety Pro. Again, if you have any questions, please email me or give us a call here at AgriData. We'll be happy to help you out. Also, if you have an interest in bringing in a custom layer or a custom form, please let us know. We'd be happy to help. With that, I thank you for your attention and have a good day.